Hello and welcome to a special edition of the Battle Cry. I'm Gaurav Sawant. India is the only country in the world to have an ocean named after it, and guarding our interests in the Indian Ocean region, where 95% of our trade by volume and over 70% by value passes through sea, is of prime importance. And the Indian Navy now has a new weapon to protect and further India's interests in the Indian Ocean region. The Romeo of the oceans, the MH-60R, the long-endurance multi-role helicopter capable of anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface operation. It's actually a multi-role helicopter. The Indian Navy has commissioned the first operational squadron of the MH-60R at INS Hansa in Goa. Of course, there's also a squadron, a training squadron that was commissioned earlier in 2024. The MH-60R is the most advanced weapons platform in its class. It's a battle-proven helicopter. It has long endurance, can fly by day and night, and can fire the Hellfire missiles. India Today's Manjeet Singh Negi was at INS Hansa and gets us this special report.
इस वक्त जब सरहद पर ऑपरेशन सिंदूर जारी है, समुद्री सरहद पर भारतीय नौसेना अपनी हवाई मारक क्षमता को लगातार बढ़ा रही है। भारतीय नौसेना के बेड़े में दुनिया का सबसे आधुनिक और मल्टी मिशन हेलीकॉप्टर MH-60 रोमियो की दूसरी स्क्वाड्रन शामिल हो रही है। इस वक्त मैं गोवा में हंसा नेवल बेस पर मौजूद हूं, जहां पर ये नए जो हेलीकॉप्टर हैं वो शामिल हो रहे हैं। ये दूसरी स्क्वाड्रन है। हमारे साथ इस हेलीकॉप्टर के पायलट हैं लेफ्टिनेंट कमांडर प्रखर भार्गवा। आपसे जानना चाहूँगा इसकी ऐसी क्या खासियत है जो कि ये भारतीय नौसेना के हवाई मारक क्षमता को बढ़ाने का काम करता है।
MH-60R helicopter is the most advanced helicopter present in Indian Navy. It is an all-weather aircraft which is capable of operating both by day and night from ashore and afloat. Its exceptional stability, long endurance, and state-of-the-art weapon and sensors fitted in the aircraft makes it a potent platform for achieving any operational objective, whether it is anti-submarine warfare, surface surveillance, or search and rescue. The diversity and the operational capabilities and the technology which is used in this aircraft provide Indian Navy the capability to achieve operational objectives in toughest conditions.
The MH-60R helicopter is fitted with advanced avionics, sensors and weapon systems. So in order to maintain these advanced systems, we require high maintenance standards and technical oversight. So as a technical team, we ensure that each and every system fitted on the aircraft is maintained at its high standard and it is available for all operational requirement when demanded by the Navy.
मल्टी-रोल हेलीकॉप्टर्स जो होते हैं वो उनको एक तरह से हम फ्लाइंग फ्रिगेट कहते हैं नेवी में, क्योंकि ये मल्टी रोल जैसा नाम है इनका, ये एंटी सबमरीन वॉरफेयर भी कर सकते हैं, एंटी सरफेस वॉरफेयर भी कर सकते हैं, सर्वेलेंस मिशन भी कर सकते हैं और ज़रूरत पड़ी तो सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू भी कर सकते हैं। और शिप से ऑपरेट करके ये जो शिप की जो मारक क्षमता है, शिप की जो कॉम्बैट रेडीनेस है, उसको कई गुना बढ़ा देते हैं। तो हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी की बात है कि हमने ये 24 MH-60R रोमियोज इंडक्ट जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमने साइन किया था, उसके हिसाब से हमारी जो इंडक्शन प्रोसेस है वो ऑन है।
हवाई मोर्चे पर भारतीय नौसेना अपनी मारक क्षमता को बढ़ा रही है। भारतीय नौसेना के बेड़े में दुनिया का जो सबसे आधुनिक मल्टी मिशन हेलीकॉप्टर है उसकी नई स्क्वाड्रन शामिल हो रही है। MH-60 रोमियो हेलीकॉप्टर जो अमेरिका का बना हुआ है और यहाँ INS हंसा गोवा में दूसरी स्क्वाड्रन शामिल हो रही है। इससे पहले कोच्चि में एक स्क्वाड्रन शामिल हुई थी। इसकी मारक क्षमता की हम बात करें तो ये हेलफायर मिसाइल से लैस है। समुद्री मोर्चे पर बात करें तो समुद्र के गहरे समुद्र से के नीचे पनडुब्बी के खिलाफ ऑपरेशन के लिए टॉर्पीडोज को लैस किया गया है। हमारे साथ इस स्क्वाड्रन के कमांडिंग ऑफिसर हैं कैप्टन धीरेन्द्र बिष्ट। उनसे जानेंगे कि क्या, मैं आपसे जानना चाहूँगा, ये दूसरी स्क्वाड्रन है और जिस तरह का ये हेलीकॉप्टर है, मल्टी मिशन हेलीकॉप्टर है, क्या सिग्निफिकेंस, क्या महत्व आप इसका देखते हैं?
INS 335 will function as the eyes, ears and first hunters of the fleet, providing real-time situational awareness, undersea warfare capability and rapid response across our vast maritime spaces.
The commissioning of 2nd Squadron will be significantly boost the Indian Navy's anti-submarine warfare capabilities, particularly in the Indian Ocean region, where Chinese naval activity has increased. The helicopter can defeat and track enemy submarine, making them a potent force multiplier for the Indian Navy. The MH-60R Romeo helicopters will be deployed on INS Vikramaditya, INS Vikrant and other naval vessels. With camera person Kirpal Singh, this is Manjit Negi for India Today from INS Hansa, Goa.
So the MH-60R helicopter's fully integrated mission system processes sensor data. It builds a complete situational picture of what's happening on the surface of the ocean and also subsurface domain, undersea. With actionable intelligence in picture, the crew can then track, target and engage, whether it's ships or submarines, effectively, efficiently and silently. Now, the weapons include the torpedoes, the air-to-ground missiles, the rockets, and of course, crew service guns. India Today's Manjit Singh Negi spoke to the Chief of Naval Staff, Admiral Dinesh Tripathi, on the capabilities of the MH-60R Romeos.
देखिए, मल्टी रोल हेलीकॉप्टर्स जो होते हैं वो उनको एक तरह से हम फ्लाइंग फ्रिगेट कहते हैं नेवी में, क्योंकि ये मल्टी रोल जैसा नाम है इनका, ये एंटी सबमरीन वॉरफेयर भी कर सकते हैं, एंटी सरफेस वॉरफेयर भी कर सकते हैं, सर्वेलेंस मिशन भी कर सकते हैं और ज़रूरत पड़ी तो सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू भी कर सकते हैं और शिप से ऑपरेट करके ये जो शिप की जो मारक क्षमता है, शिप की जो कॉम्बैट रेडीनेस है, उसको कई गुना बढ़ा देते हैं। तो हमारे लिए बहुत खुशी की बात है कि हमने ये 24 MH-60R रोमियोज इंडक्ट जो कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हमने साइन किया था, उसके हिसाब से हमारी जो इंडक्शन प्रोसेस है वो ऑन है। जो 2024 मार्च में हमने एक स्क्वाड्रन जो कमीशन किया था कोचीन में, वो ट्रेनिंग स्क्वाड्रन था। ऑब्वियसली सबसे पहले ट्रेनिंग जरूरी है, जिससे कि जो पायलट्स हैं और उनके जो मेंटेनर्स हैं उनको अच्छी तरह से सीख मिले, जिससे कि जब ये हेलीकॉप्टर्स कॉम्बैट प्लेटफॉर्म से जाके उतरें तो पूरी तरह से इफेक्टिव हों फ्रॉम डे वन।
To talk more about the induction of the MH-60 Romeos and of course on the modernization of the Indian Navy. Joining me on this special broadcast are Vice Admiral Shekhar Sinha, former Flag Officer Commanding-in-Chief of the Western Naval Command, flying pilot himself, was a naval aviator. Rear Admiral Philipose George Pynumootil was former Flag Officer Naval Aviation. Sandeep Punithan is a senior journalist joining us on this show. Gentlemen, welcome. Admiral Sinha, what does the induction of the MH-60 Romeo mean for the capabilities of the Indian Navy in the Indian Ocean region, sir?
Thank you for getting me on your show, Gaurav. Always a pleasure with such a great panel that you have. First thing is that these are integral part of a frigate or a destroyer at sea and the aircraft carrier. They are always carried on board. Unfortunately, the numbers of these anti-submarine helicopters and multi-role helicopters had declined over a period of time. We have not inducted. And it has taken this helicopter many years. I think the first paper we wrote was in 1995. And today we are in 2025. It is thanks to Prime Minister Modi's government that he expedited the signing of this, the agreement and the contracts. Otherwise, we would have been quite delayed. Now, your question as to how does it, as you heard our Chief of Naval Staff saying that it's a flying frigate, that's exactly what it is. Now, frigates cannot fly, the aircraft can fly, and it can get ahead of the ship many, many miles, hundreds of miles, and do the very, very similar thing so that it can give you a warning of the incoming, the threat, either a submarine threat or a surface threat. And if it is wartime, then it can localize and it can prosecute the target as well. So in the Indian Ocean, it is certainly going to increase the area of our surveillance the area to which we can sanitize ahead of the fleet, the main ships. When the main ships are going ahead with some kind of attack, these always act as the front screen. They are always the front screen, many miles ahead of the ship, and they do the what is called the the sanitization by throwing their sonobuoys, looking in the radar, and once they have detected something, they can warn the ships either for them to take a different route, or if they are ordered, they will go and destroy. So I would say that they are eyes and ears of our fleet, so much ahead of where the fleet ships are. So it has really given you much more area of surveillance, and as we say that we will have a sea control and sea denial in an area of, let's say, 200 miles or 100 miles. This is the true platform which gives you that ability, Gaurav.
So both sea control and sea denial. Admiral Philipose, the MH-60R helicopters are seen as a game changer, and especially with these Chinese ships and submarines increasingly lurking in our waters. So this induction and the speeding up of the induction delayed, as it was for a very long time earlier. What message is India sending out?
I think it's a huge capability, Philip, that it's given to the Navy, and it is the finest anti-submarine platform in the world. So it is a fantastic signal to everyone concerned that we have a state-of-the-art helicopter second to none, and it's the same helicopter which the U.S. Navy uses and exploits, and there are several other countries like Australia and Singapore also use this aircraft, and our numbers are sizable, 24. So this would be a game changer of sorts, undoubtedly, and in all the realms, anti-surface, anti-submarine, as well as HADR and SAR plus anti-piracy as well. So in literally every role of the Navy, we could use the MH-60R as a platform of choice.
And these flying frigates, Sandeep, there were some supply chain disruptions. There were some reports of manufacturing bottlenecks. But how much of a gap in anti-submarine warfare readiness that had been created is being addressed with this acquisition, Sandeep?
Well, it's very critical, this acquisition, Gaurav, because what has happened is, over the last couple of decades, is that India had an anti-submarine warfare architecture that was primarily built around Soviet origin systems like the IL-38, the Tu-142, the Kamov-28. Now what we are seeing in the last couple of years is that legacy Soviet systems are being replaced by an entirely new architecture, which is primarily American in origin. The P-8I Poseidon is one. The MH-60R is another important aspect of that, and the Sea Guardian will be the third edge of that triangle, which is being set up. It is, of course, imported, but in future we will possibly have Atmanirbhar variants, and this is something that Admiral Philipose could throw more light on. The fact that we now, after several years, have a completely new anti-submarine warfare architecture that's fit to tackle some of the most sophisticated submarines that China is putting out in the Indian Ocean region, Gaurav.
Admiral Sinha, I want to take you back in history. 1998, when India carried out the Pokhran tests, the entire Sea King and Sea Harrier fleet was virtually grounded because US sanctions came into play. Now, considering the risks of US export controls, as they call it, or sanctions, sir, are there concrete safeguards to prevent disruption in maintenance or in supplies or spares or upgrade for the MH-60R?
Gaurav, what we do when we buy a platform or equipment, ship or aircraft, we work out as to what should be the reserve, a reserve spare that we should keep in our naval store depots. And that is worked out in a particular sort of formula. And I'm sure that now, over a period of time, that formula has been revised, considering that you can be subjected to these kind of sanctions that you talked about. So I would say that while it will make an impact, how much impact it will make, it depends right now as to how much can the Navy, what is the Navy contracted, which I wouldn't know. Navy has contracted for how much of spare part as a reserve in the naval store depot. For our day-to-day maintenance, for routine maintenance, there are many components which you have to change as per the time or as per the flying hours. Normally these are the two bases, calendar based or hour based. So once those, once those equipment inside reach that particular level, then you have to either replace it or you have to repair it. Now, those are the ones as to how much should we keep. There is a
Are you
formula.
concerned about US sanctions? Are you concerned about, the problems that we may face, or have we been able to overcome that by and large?
See, you cannot overcome 100%, Gaurav, because this equipment or this machine belongs to them. We have got a contract with them. We have a contract of giving you maintenance and logistic support for a certain number of years. So hopefully they will not they will honor those. But is it possible that in case of sanction we may get hit? How much we'll get hit? We'll see how long is the sanction for.
Sure. Admiral Philipose, as this MH-60R replaces the aging Sea King helicopter, sir, have there been reports of any integration challenges, performance shortfalls, given India's particular, the tropical maritime flying conditions? Any operational teething troubles during the 2024-25 inductions that could undermine the Navy's multi-role capabilities, and especially against the Chinese in our waters?
No, the integration has been, I would say, pretty fast. So in under a year, they are operating from about 13 different types of platforms. So all the ships which are MH-60R capable, whether it's the Shivaji class or the Delhi class or the Visakhapatnam class, all have integrated the MH-60Rs, and of course the aircraft carrier as well. So that's not an issue. But like Admiral Sinha mentioned, the follow-on support package as well as the follow-on logistic support package has been signed recently for a sizable amount. So if you look at the pros and cons of, you very nicely brought out the fact that we've shifted from the Russian platforms to the American platforms. So in a nutshell, what happens is Russia has been a friend throughout and supported us through the hard times in '98 as well. But just to explain the difference in the two types of platforms. Now, if you see, the Russian concept is these aircraft go back to Russia every 2 years after a particular calendar life, as well as a flying hours-based exploitation. And the aircraft goes all the way back to Russia, and then it takes about 6 months to 1 year to come back. So, for example, the Tu-142, which was the precursor to the Boeing, etc., the P8I. So in 30 years, the TU flew close. I'll give approximate figures, obviously, for obvious reasons. Flew around 30,000 hours. The Boeing has crossed 8 plus 4 P8s have crossed more than 50,000 hours in less than 8 years. So the concept is the Western side is you pay a lot, but you are able to exploit the aircraft much more better. And the Western concept is the airframe is built for that life of 25 years. In the Russian concept, it is the upfront cost is much less. And I'm sorry, life cycle cost is much higher because, in simple terms, what happens is the glaring difference. I'll just explain it with the MiGs. A MiG-29K costs $35 million, while a Rafale costs ballpark around 110 million. So the point is the upfront cost is way, way less. But in the long run, like the Admiral mentioned, the life cycle cost works out pretty high. And there are pros and cons of both sides, like I mentioned.
Absolutely. And that's so fascinating to learn and to understand. Sandeep, following the April 2025 contract for the Rafale Marines, and since we are talking about fighter jets now, so 26 Rafale Marines for INS Vikrant and our aircraft carriers. Now, is it a funds crunch? Is that an issue in modernizing Indian Navy's air arm, or are we looking at putting a little in the naval air arm when it comes to fighters, putting some in our Reapers, in the long endurance drones, more in P8Is? Is that how we are looking at it, and perhaps give a life cycle extension to the MiG-29Ks?
Well, Gaurav, it's actually all of the factors that you mentioned, and it's also to support our own twin-engined deck-based fighters, the TED-BF, which HAL is to roll out by the next decade, which is the preferred choice for the Indian Navy for an Atmanirbhar aircraft, which is our own twin-engine deck-based fighter. Now, if you buy a lot of Rafales, A, you'll run out of funds to support your other programs, and B, you won't have your own indigenous deck-based carrier aircraft. So I think the government has been very careful, the Defense Ministry and the Navy have been careful in allocating funds to buy just enough aircraft to meet your immediate requirements. But in the long term, we have no option, Gaurav, but to buy our own, build and operate our own fighter aircraft. And that's what the TED-BF is all about, Gaurav.
Okay. Admiral Sinha, the Atmanirbhar Indian Naval Aviation Technology Roadmap of 2047, it envisions perhaps a fully indigenous 400 aircraft fleet. In your appreciation, sir, how realistic is that goal, given delays in what Sandeep was also referring to, the TED-BF, the twin-engine deck-based fighter jets or the naval utility helicopters, and the continued dependence, sir, on foreign platforms like the MH-60R Romeo or the Rafale Marines?
You know, Gaurav, as far as the weapon platforms are concerned, if you take the entire armed forces, we have been sort of late and very slow in the aerospace platforms. We have not been making our own aircraft, whereas ships have been rolled out, aircraft carrier has been rolled out, and so has been many platforms for the army. So I would say that, you know, in this short time frame, it is good to have a target. At least one can work towards it, but we do not know whether they will be able to achieve or not. Now this Sandeep is quite right. If you buy too many of these Rafale, in that case the money may not be sufficient to fund the aircraft carrier. But I will also put a word of caution here that, you know, the aircraft carrier is our own indigenous. We don't have to pay it tomorrow. You have to pay it in a longer duration, and most of them are, you know, the public sector units. Whereas the Rafale or any other foreign aircraft, you have to pay in a particular time frame, otherwise there are penalties. So that we have to keep it in mind. The numbers are really difficult to guess right now, but having all 400 Atmanirbhar, all indigenous, that's a very, very tall order. I don't think it can happen even for the Air Force, which is the sort of main stockholder of all the aerospace that we create. So I would say that engine, we are still a lot of distance away. As you know, the Safran will probably be the first one, or maybe the Rolls-Royce is going to build everything here and transfer the technology. That is yet to be signed. But only thing firm at the moment is Safran engine. And let's see when does the first one come out. Then it's integration with any one of the aircraft. Then it's integration with it's a very time consuming process. You know, test and trial, it takes very, very long time for any aircraft or helicopter. Helicopter technology, particularly the anti-submarine warfare technology, is very unique. That is even more specialized than any other thing that you're talking about. And therefore, to have the sonobuoys, we're going to make it now, but to have the technology transferred here and the sensing equipment, they're really top end of the technology, which no country will like to part with it. So I would say that, you know, inside the sensor part is really, really very tough to get your hand on. So that might
you think we are on track? I mean, our naval modernization, Admiral Philipose, are we on an even keel? Naval aviation modernization, is it on track, or are some delays worrisome in your appreciation?
Hugely worrisome. I mean, not to sound negative, but TED-BF, by my estimate, there's no way it's going to fly before, say, minimum 12 years from now. And you were talking about the numbers. So actually now when we are looking at two aircraft carriers itself, again, I'm giving generic numbers. I know the exact number, but I will not specify the number. We are getting 26, but the numbers required are actually double to cater for two, because the MiGs, we had got 45 MiGs, now we're down to about 40. And to cater for Vikramaditya and Vikrant itself, the numbers we need are double of what we are getting around. And these are, again, approximate figures. I will not give the exact figures. So you need double of those. And now with the third carrier coming in, obviously the numbers would be way, way more. And our deck-based fighter would take a long time. So the good step is the 114 Rafales which the Air Force is getting, and we are hopefully get some technology transfer and start manufacturing those aircraft in India. That would go a long way in enhancing our capability. And the other prestigious project is the deck-based multi-role helicopter, which is extremely challenging. And suffice to say, if you see worldwide, in this 12-ton category, how many aircraft are there? There's the EC-725, there is the NH-90, there's the MH-60R. There are just 3 or 4. So to be fair to us also, I mean, worldwide, if there are 4 and we want to get into this big club, it is a huge challenge, and we should understand that it's a huge challenge. The weak areas are the engines and,
for
the
the
sensors.
current, you must have the best, which the Navy is acquiring. The MH-60 Romeos, as the Navy says, is the best available. So, Sandeep, the P-8Is, if we were to talk about the long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft, the MQ-9 drones, help us understand how they take this battle forward, because nobody is using them uniquely the way the Indian Armed Forces are. I mean, P-8Is, long-range maritime reconnaissance aircraft, the Indian system used it even in Doklam over high Himalayas 2017 and 2020, Sandeep.
Absolutely, Gaurav. And you know, what we see here is this triangle of anti-submarine warfare assets that are going to operate once the Sea Guardians, of course, come in. You will see Sea Guardians having that persistent overwatch over the Indian Ocean region, and you will have the MH-60s operating off warships as the admirals on the show have just explained to us, and then you will also have the P-8Is. So these 3 will operate in concert to hunt enemy submarines, and it is going to be something that is going to be very difficult for another a hostile power to operate in the Indian Ocean region when you have the Indian Navy operating off the aircraft carrier that the Indian subcontinent is, jutting into the Indian Ocean region. And from both coasts, from the eastern seaboard and the western seaboard, we have the ability to deploy all of these anti-submarine warfare assets over there, and which have persistent overwatch. They are able to attack submarines, track them, hunt them, track, detect, hunt, and then, maintain contact with submarines the minute they're picked up, when they cross the choke points of the Malacca Straits and the Mumbai Vetar and the other places. So you're looking at a very formidable anti-submarine warfare architecture that's been put into place, Gaurav, with these 3 assets coming in the numbers that we currently have. And as you correctly pointed out, the fact is that the Indian Navy has been using P-8Is over land. We've been using them in Doklam. We've been using them to look at Ladakh, because they're very capable aircraft. And now, with the fact that we are getting many more of them in the area that we have, the Indian Ocean region is going to be very, very difficult for Chinese, Pakistani submarines, any other country to operate without us knowing them, without us having the ability to detect them, and of course, hunt them.
This is the power. This is the Bharat Shakti that we are talking about. India's power in the Indian Ocean region that will ensure the stronger we are militarily and strategically, the stronger we would be economically. And what a lovely discussion I've had. Admiral Philipose, Admiral Sinha and Sandeep for joining me here on this Battle Cry special broadcast. Many thanks. That is all I have for you on this special edition of Battle Cry. Many thanks for watching. News and updates continue on India Today. Stay with us.